Hello and welcome to the build-up of Burnley against West Ham United as West Ham seeks 6 wins out of 7. Lineups will be out in a couple of minutes. So before we do that, Charlie, Declan Rice obviously signed a new contract a couple of days ago. What's your thoughts on it all and how important is this to West Ham to get tied down?
I'm incredibly happy, obviously, as everyone is. And I think the importance isn't just that we've got one of our best players tied down to a long-term contract, which is obviously incredibly important. And with the way he's gone about his business in the last 51 games, however many he's made now, it's also because we've spoken about it before personally, about the idea of us no longer being a selling club. And it would be incredibly easy to cash in on Declan Rice with big clubs circling, with potentially high money moves in the making, especially if you look at something like, it might not be high original fee, but with sell-on fees and all that sort of stuff, it would be incredibly easy to see him as a cash cow, to see him as a money-making scheme. But to see him tied down to a long-term contract, of course that means if he did go, he'd be worth more money. But to see him tied down is a great sign. And when you look at Garner, when you look at other young players coming through, they're going to see that actually, if you perform well here, there is security in it. You're not just going to be like Freddie Sears, Junior Stanislas, and all these other players who look like they could break through, but then it didn't happen and they went to the wayside. It shows that there is a path through to Premier League football, consistent Premier League football, if you put in the effort and if you put in the work rate that Declan has. So it's a fantastic thing for the club.
The lineup's out in just a few seconds, but Charlie, just quickly, because obviously your opinion may change once you hear the starting lineups for both teams. What are you feeling about the game right now before you know the teams?
I'm relatively confident. I think it's the right team to face. Burnley could go either way. They could turn up in a very, very big way and could be a huge momentum to try and save Sean Dyche's job, or they could be how they have been. And I think if the rumours of certain players coming back are correct, a tough day on their hands, but they are capable of pulling something out of the bag whenever. But I'm fairly confident.
As you can tell by the title of this video, a strong possibility Marko Arnautovic has returned to starting 11. I can confirm he has indeed returned to the starting team to face Burnley. West Ham look like they might be slipping back to a 4-4-2 today. Fabianski is in goal with Mikel Antonio right back, as Zabala failed a late fitness test. Diop and Ogbonna continue in the middle, and Balbuena's absence. Caswell continues at left back, but it's not the captain, as the captain is back in the middle of the park. Martin Noble returns to the team with a partner Declan Rice. Snodgrass and Anderson on either flank, and it looks like we're going to be playing Lucas Perez up front alongside Marko Arnautovic. Charlie, is this the best news you could hope for in a way?
It is, yeah. My concern with him is consistently on Arnautovic, that is consistently his fitness and whether we're pushing him back into the team too early, like we've seen time and time again with other people. But there's no doubt that when he plays, even when he's half fit, when he is capable of creating great things, he's capable of creating great chances for others as well as scoring goals himself. And so for Burnley, they're going to be looking at that and probably shaking in their boots a little bit, because when we do have a lot of these players on the pitch with, and I think also it might actually give Lucas Perez the best chance to succeed as well, and that's something I'm looking forward to seeing.
Obiang obviously did quite well against Southampton, the general feeling was, but he's obviously dropped to the bench today. Noble comes in. Is this the right call by Pellegrini, or is it a bit harsh on Pedro?
It's harsh because I think he did do quite well, but at the same time, Noble has been consistently dropping in and out, and I think there's a lot of space in that middle for rotation. And I think if there's a lot of talk about us looking at that area to strengthen in January, and this is the best way to see A, who's capable of staying at the club, and B, who's capable of not having to be replaced. I think it gives us all a better idea. I think we mostly know, but someone like Pedro Obiang, who can, on his day, can be absolutely amazing, but can also go completely quiet, I think needs the opportunities to prove himself. And so it's a bit shocking to see him drop out of the squad, but at the same time, you can understand it. And in a game where this could be a very, very tough, a very feisty fixture, Noble in the centre of the park is kind of what you want.
I think it's a bit harsh on Obiang, although I want to see Noble come back in. If you watched our preview, I just think Noble's better suited to this game than Obiang is. That's all. I think it's Pedro didn't really do anything wrong against Southampton, so you can consider himself a little bit unfortunate, if you like. Charlie, the last thing about West Ham before we take a quick look at Burnley's 11. Antonio continues at right back. Obviously, it's forced. There's nothing you can do about it. Are you worried about him playing right back? Southampton targeted him and he struggled for the first 5 minutes or so, but then, in my opinion, I thought he played quite well, but other people didn't really agree with me.
Yeah, and I think he played. My opinion was that he played all right, pretty well. But again, defensively, that's where his problems lie, and that's where the problems began against Southampton. I am somewhat concerned. Burnley have good players down that side, but I don't think they're starting. I don't think they're fit at the moment. So that could be a godsend for us. And if we are looking to really turn the screw on a team who are struggling defensively and to really put them to the sword, then Antonio is capable of doing that. We saw in that game him making these ridiculously stupid long runs and then popping off a shot at the end, which was ultimately fruitless. But if he did something else at the end as opposed to popping up a shot, Burnley are going to be at 6s and 7s. And with the other players we've got in and around the box, we know at least going forward, it's going to be a very, very difficult day for Burnley's left-hand side.
West Ham's bench: Adrian, Masuaku, Coventry, Obiang, Diangana, Andy Carroll, and Alexander Silva. As you'd expect, once you know the start 11. My only concern is how fit is Arnautovic. Pellegrini said a week ago he's coming back to training. There can't have been much training since then and now because of all the fixtures. So that concerns me. If he wasn't even fit enough for the bench against Southampton, how is he suddenly fit enough for to start this game? There's not that many days in between, or perhaps the plan always was. Maybe he was fit enough for the bench in Southampton. He just decided to keep him out of it completely and look at this game instead. So that's my only concern. But let's take a quick look at Burnley's 11. The interesting one: Joe Hart has been dropped. He's not going to be playing against us, unfortunately. Heaton is in goal. Right back, they've got Phil Barsley, Tarkowski, and me in the middle with Taylor left back, and Goodmanson and McNeil on the wings, and Westwood and Cork in the middle with Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes up front. Charlie, is there anything that strikes fear into you there? They've obviously got their two guys that's strong in the air up front, and they're matching us with a 4-4-2.
Two guys who are strong in the air and two guys who are also strong. They're not weak on the ground, but they're able to bully opposition. They're a bit like Troy Deeney in that sense. They've got that big physical build. They are good in the air, but can also just barge you out of the way if they want to. And Ashley Barnes, when he was in full form last season, was incredibly dangerous wherever he was on the pitch, be it from long range, short range, in the air, on the ground. It doesn't matter. So if he turns up, then that is a very dangerous thing. Also, I rate Goodmanson. I really like him as a player. I think he is super talented and can open up defenses very well. And we all know we're going to play that high line. He's someone who I would be wary of managing to get balls in behind the wide line for the two big men up front. But yeah, you've just said about that left-hand side, that doesn't scare me as much. If it was someone like Robbie Brady running directly at Mikel Antonio when he's already too far forward, I'd be very scared. But I'll be real, I don't know who McNeil is. I don't know any of his traits. And so he could be great, he could not be. So that's something to be wary of. But even it's harsh to say, and I don't mean this to be offensive to Burnley fans, but I think even our side now, with as many injuries, is probably as strong, if not stronger, than Burnley's is currently. So yeah.
The McNeil choice is interesting. I've just had a look at their bench. I'll tell you that in a second. They don't really have any wingers on there either, so it's kind of forced. But he's a 19-year-old. I know he's 19. I think he's had very few minutes in the Burnley shirt, to be honest with you. So while we can sit here and dismiss him, we have to remember about Diangana. When people came up against Diangana, they'd go, oh, who's that guy for West Ham? He's not going to do anything. An unknown quantity scares me actually more than other people perhaps. I'd actually rather see Aaron Lennon than this McNeil boy, because I know what Lennon's all about. I know while he could cause Antonio some trouble, he's not that great. He's not one of the top 10 wingers in Premier League or anything. So this unknown guy scares me. If he plays like Diangana did when he first came into the team, i.e. fearless, direct, then he could cause Antonio problems, but we won't know until we see him. Chris Wood always gives us problems up front. Dyche has kept him on the bench a couple of times against us and brought him on to full effect. So he's starting him today, so it'll be interesting to see if he's just as effective from the starting whistle rather than coming on. But apart from that team, Phil Barsley's our massive weak link. I'm with you. I like Goodmanson. I think he's a fantastic player. But Phil Barsley's an awful right back. He really is. But it's between him or Lowton. Who do you pick? Anderson should be having a field day for us up against Phil Barsley. Phil Barsley should be going in the book as well. The Burnley bench, just in case you're tuning in for that, I doubt it, but you never know, is Joe Hart, Ben Gibson, Viagra, Sam Vokes, Kevin Long, Jeff Hendrick, and Ali Koike. Another youngster, I assume. He's number 42 and he doesn't have a picture on the One Football app. So you don't have a picture. I think that's an indicator that you're a young player. But would you say we've got a stronger bench as well, Charlie? We've also got our two strikers on there. We've got two midfielders on there and two defenders on there. It's quite a balanced bench, I think.
I would, yeah. I think they've got standout players on there. I like Jeff Hendricks and I like Sam Vokes. Sam Vokes is very much in a similar mold though to the two strikers they have up front. So if that tactic isn't working, if that isn't going well for them, they don't really have any big strikers to bring on and change the game. They'd have to change the formation, change the way they're delivering the balls into the box, but it would still be very much the same. So if we can contain those two, then I would be fairly confident in that sense. But they do have, like I say, Jeff Hendrick, who I do really like as well, and could change up their deliveries into the box. So that's something to be wary of. But apart from that, the rest of their bench, I mean, Joe Hart would probably be up for coming on front and scoring a goal. But apart from that, I'm not too concerned. But at the same time, I'm more wary of just Burnley as a unit as opposed to their individuals on the bench.
It's a very much Sean Dyche 18 grafters, sort of limited ability. That's going to come back and bite us in the arse later on and get beat, isn't it? Limited ability. They're not the best technically. They don't much flair in that team, but what they do have is grafters. They'll put in 100%. They'll probably be well organised. They'll make it difficult. But this is the team that, remember, it took Spurs until the 93rd minute to break down at Wembley, so they know they can do it. We sort of have to try and discard the fact that they got smashed 5-1 by Everton, because Everton on their day are a good side, etc. And Dyche has obviously rang a few changes out from that 11, so it's not the same 11 that started against Everton. And I always fear teams with a manager like Dyche that when they're on the receiving end of a hiding, the chances of a Sean Dyche team going 2 hidings in a row is probably pretty slim. I don't know, but if you go back and check his record, I imagine when he gets beat 3-4, 5-1 the next weekend, it's probably nothing like that, because there will be a reaction, there will be a response and stuff, and that's my only fear. But Charlie, we've seen the starting 11s. Are you confident of getting 3 points today at Turf Moor?
I am, yeah. If anything, I'm probably even slightly more confident. I think Tom Heaton's got a point to prove in goal. That could be a big factor. For some reason, they've stuck with Joe Hart all this time. That's not a diss to Joe Hart. It's just not been going great. So I don't know why they haven't changed him. But changing him for now, I think Tom Heaton could come in and have an incredible game. And at his best, he can be very, very difficult to beat. But having said that, our forward line is incredibly good. Those 4 people who we've got up front, Perez could go either way, but the 3 at least of them are very, very good. And their backline is going to have a very tough day. And like you say, someone like Phil Barsley up against Anderson, it doesn't look good for them. It doesn't look good for them at all. So I'm if anything, slightly more confident than I was before you told me the teams.
Yeah, the good thing is also Aaron Creswell's crosses against Southampton were fantastic. I just don't think we've capitalised on them now. We've got Arnautovic in the box. It's probably a bit more suited to balls coming into from a wide position compared to what Lucas Perez is, for example. So I think that's one benefit as well. I'm reasonably confident looking at the 2 lineups. Just to give a different perspective on Tom Heaton, while I agree with you, just to play devil's advocate, how confident is he though? He's been sitting on the bench all season watching Joe Hart. You could look at it that he's coming in with a point to prove, or you could look at it he's coming in not as confident as he once was, and if an early couple of tests from us might shake him a little bit or something, we're getting him out, and we've got fantastic options today. Declan Rice returns to the ground that he made his Premier League debut for his first game after signing a new long-term contract at West Ham, but surely it's written in the stars. Well, we've given a lot of competition on Twitter. If you head over to our pinned tweets on twitter.com/hammers_chat. The link is in the description. We're giving away £100 cash if Declan Rice scores the first goal at Turf Moor today. All you have to do is retweet and follow to get involved. Charlie, I said 3-1 in the preview. I think I'm going to stick with that, actually. I do think they're good for a goal, but I do think we're good for more than 1 goal. Gonzo said 2-0. Would you care to give me your score prediction, please?
Yeah, my biggest concern is if they go ahead, I think we'll struggle to get back into it because they can be very difficult to break down, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think with the forward line we've got, we can hit them early and we can hit them hard. So you've both managed to steal the 2 predictions I'm going to go for, but I'll say 3-1 as well, because I do think that they are capable of scoring a goal, but I can't see them scoring 1, whereas I can see us scoring more than 2. So yeah, 3-1.
Exactly. Well, myself and Charlie are predicting 7th heaven for West Ham, because that's where we'll be in the league table if we win at Turf Moor today. Declan Rice, as I said, returns to where he made his debut. I'll be joined by Gonzo and Tom, not young Tom or Tom down, but Tom Bulls, 3 Toms now, over on the other channel, youtube.com/HammersChat, straight after full time, hopefully to celebrating 3 points to West Ham United. On this channel, make sure you subscribe to it and drop a like on the video, but on this channel, a little while after the full-time whistle, there'll be a reaction from Mike, who's at the game with his little boy. So you'll see Mike on this channel giving his 2 or 3 minutes snippet of info, what he thought from Turf Moor. Hopefully, a good result in the 7th heaven for West Ham. Anyway, that's been Charlie. I've been Joe. We've been Hammer Chat, and we'll see you at full-time on the other channel. Take care.